Alrighty, welcome to video 2 on angles of triangles. And in our first video, we talked about the interior angles, something that many of you had been exposed to before, so it was relatively a review. And in this video, we're going to be talking now about the exterior angles of a triangle, probably something that most of you have not been exposed to before. So this is going to be mostly new. Very important to listen and learn and then pause and write down as we are moving along. So you took some notes from the bottom of 112, and I'm going to probably be adding a few things that you might want to put in there after you're done listening and learning before we go on to the next slide. So, ladies and gentlemen, the exterior angles of a triangle. They have this nice picture for you, and the exterior angles are highlighted in blue, and it's so important to know that all exterior angles of a triangle are adjacent to the interior angle. So when you're looking at that picture, I've got this angle right here. I'm going to call it, I'm just going to highlight it in red. This angle right here, I'm highlighting in red. Okay? And you can see that that interior angle has two adjacent exterior angles. I'm going to call that angle A and angle, B. Angle A and angle B. Those two angles on the exterior of that triangle are adjacent to that interior angle that I highlighted in red. I'm going to give it a value of 60 degrees. In fact, I'm going to give every single angle in there a value of 60 degrees to help show a point here. So A and B are exterior. So even though each interior angle has two exterior angles, mathematically, we are only going to count one of those angles at a time. Either A or, that's a capital or, B. We're not going to count both A and B. It's A or B. And here's why. Ladies and gentlemen, so angle A happens to be adjacent to our 60-degree interior angle. And it is also supplementary. You can see it forms that straight line. So since they're supplementary, 180 minus 60 is 120. And B is also supplementary to that interior, so it's also 120. And that only makes sense because of what we learned in a previous video lesson. A and B, if you recognize, are vertical angles, which means they are congruent. Both of them being 120 makes sense then. And it just so happens, I'm going to give you a little preview of an upcoming lesson when we're talking exterior angles of any polygon, not just the triangle, but any polygon. When I go around the outside, I create something called a circle. And many of you already know. How many degrees in a circle? That's right, 360. Well, if I look at all the exterior angles that are created here, there's another one here, another one here, one here, one here. They're all going to be 120. If I add up those 6 120s, that would equal 720. Well, 720 is twice as much as 360. Well, that's because we doubled the exterior angles. Well, we can't. We only count one at a time. So if we only count 3 of them, because there's 3 interior angles, then 120 times 3 is 360. So that's why we only count one at a time. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes of what we need to know here. The exterior angle of a triangle. We want to know how do we calculate and figure out and find the measure of that exterior angle. And you've written probably something down to the effect of the measure of this exterior angle is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So we have angle Z. Angle Z would be equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles, X plus Y. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be dealing with tonight. So let's go on to our first example. If you need to, you know what to do. Pause and write and then join us. All right, so example 5 of tonight's lesson, finding the exterior angle measures. We're going to find the measure of the exterior angle, and we just learned that the exterior angle, in this case it's Y, is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So that would be 40 plus 30. And we know that 40 plus 30 is 70. So that exterior angle is equal to 70 degrees. Now I'm just going to use something else here real quick. If Y is 70 degrees, that angle right here is 70 degrees. What do we know about the interior angle that is right here? the one that is adjacent, the one that is supplementary to angle Y, which is 7 degrees. That's right. 180 minus 70, we know its value is 110 degrees, right there. 110. Well, let's see if that works. Because we learned in our first video tonight that the sum of the interior angles has to be 180. So if we take the two interior angles we know, 40 and 30, and we add the one we just calculated of 110, does that equal 180? We put a question mark there. Does it? In fact, it does. Yes. So one way of verifying that we've done things correctly. Moving on to our next example. Example 6, find the measure of the exterior angle. And of course, we just learned that that exterior angle, in this particular case, it is x, is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So that would be 64 plus 28. And 64 plus 28 happens to be 92 degrees. And of course, you could prove it using the same exact process as we did in example number 5. Not going to spend the time doing it now. We've done it once. If you need to, you can ask. And we'll do it again in class. No worries. Anything you need, ask. Ask, ask. Here we go. Example 7. Finding again the measure of the exterior angles, and it becomes just a tiny bit more challenging, only because we now have some variables in there. But still, the process is the same. The exterior angle, 3A, is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So we have 87 and we have A plus 7. And we go back to what we learned in a previous unit, how to solve these equations. First thing we have to do is simplify. So we have 87 and 7, like terms on the same side, that is 94. Plus A is equal to 3A. And then we need to combine the A's. Now they're on opposite sides. Opposite sides means opposite operation to combine them. It helps us isolate and it's going to keep us balanced. All right, doing it to both sides. 2A is equal to 94. Finishing off by isolating and keeping balance, dividing by 2, A is equal to 47 degrees. Now, I circled it. Is that the final answer? Because a common mistake would say, hey, 87 is 47, A is 47 degrees, I'm done. But that's not the case here. 47 degrees is not the measure of that exterior angle. So ladies and gentlemen, the exterior angle is 3A's. Well, 1A is 47. So 3 times 47 happens to be what? That's right, 141 degrees. 141 degrees is the value of that exterior angle. I point that out because you don't want to fall in the trap of thinking you were done just because you solved for A. It's not what it asked. It asked to find the measure of the exterior angle. The exterior angle is 3A's, 141 degrees. Moving on to our last example, ladies and gentlemen. Example 8, one more time. No worries, we're doing everything is the same, right? So we have this exterior angle 4n minus 20 has to be equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. We have the first one of 2n plus 20 and n. Okay, so we're going to go along and we're going to isolate, we're going to keep balance, we're going to have to do some simplification first, and that means combining these two n's which are on the same side. So 3n plus 20 is equal to 4n minus 20. No worries. I'm going to combine the n's. They're on opposite sides. I'm going to move the 3n over, so I'm going to subtract 3n. And at the same time, I'm going to move that 20 to the other side, so I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And I'm going to get that n is equal to 40. Now again, as I pointed out in the previous example, that is not the final answer. N is 40, but that exterior angle is 4 times 40 minus 20. So 4 times 40 is 160, minus 20 is 140 degrees. So that exterior angle is 140 degrees. Don't get sucked into thinking you are done when you solve for the variable. That did not answer the question. Could there be a question that says, hey, find n? Sure. But that's not what we were asked. We were asked to find the value of the exterior angle. You have to read the question. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, that ends it for tonight. Please draw as best you can. Just make it quick, man. All you got to do is take this triangle and go boom, boom, boom. And then you just label real quick 40, 4y minus 9. And then on the outside, 5y. You make a nice, neat drawing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, you're autographing your work with excellence, but your triangle does not have to be absolutely 100% perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending your time with me. I know sometimes it's a pain, but it is very useful for your success. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful night. See you tomorrow.